I'm with Neil King, VA7DX. You're about to embark on a journey of 9 days over the oceans to get to Amsterdam Island. When you get there, you'll be operating a shack together with 14 of your mates. What do you expect to get out of that?
Well, it's a lot of fun working with a group of very energized and very focused people. So part of it's just the enjoyment of being part of a team. But I think more than anything else, it's providing the entity, FT5 Amsterdam Island, to a lot of amateur radio operators around the world that are looking forward to maybe their first time, hopefully, of working that island and adding that entity to their DXCC count.
What's the thrill that you get out of that process of actually being on air and what is it that keeps you coming back?
It's camaraderie. It's the excitement of the pileup. Just a lot of opportunity to see places you wouldn't normally get to. It's an enjoyable experience. Push yourself. That which doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Now, I'm sure that there are people that are listening who have worked a pile-up. They might not have gone on a de-expedition, but they've worked a contest pile-up. Give us a sense of what the difference is between a solid contest pile-up and working something like Amsterdam Island.
Well, in terms of a contest pileup, lots of people, depending on your station and where you happen to be located, if you're a multiplier, there's lots of people who are anxious to get you. But imagine that on steroids and about times 1,000 in terms of people calling. That's basically the difference.
How do you make the job easier for yourself? If you're actually trying to contact Amsterdam Island, you're on the remote end, and you're in the dog pile, as some have referred to it. How do you help yourself get through that process?
Some fundamental decisions. Depends on the size of your station and the propagation between yourself and the station on Amsterdam. First thing I'd do is if I was running 100 watts in a dipole, I'd take a rest for 4 or 5 days and wait until all the big guns have fought each other to get at Amsterdam. And then as things thin out a little bit, look at the propagation charts, make sure I know when the peak signals are going to be to that area of the world, then jump on and start to work them. The second is probably the most important. Once you're physically starting to work, it's nice to have 2 receivers. So listen to the station, see where they're operating, use a second receiver to look into the pileup to see where they recently have worked a station, determine whether they're going up or down, and then just position yourself in a clear spot, ideally, at least one you can find, and then begin to call.
Now, not everybody knows how to operate splits. Can you give us a 30-second flyover of what operating split does and how that works?
Well, split's pretty fundamental. It's basically the expedition be transmitting on one frequency, but listening up 2, 3, 5, 10 KCs, depend on the conditions and whether it's sideband or whether it's CW. CW splits tend to listen up a very small 2 to 5 KCs. A sideband by its nature is a wider mode. You might listen up 5 to 10. Basically, we try and keep the amount of spectrum that we use to the minimum possible and yet still have high intelligibility in terms of recognizing signals to be able to keep a reasonable rate of working people. But essentially, the idea is that if you have the transmitting station on one frequency and everybody else transmitting up high, it leaves the de-expedition station frequency clear, and everybody in the pileup should be able to hear who they're working.
Now, you're going to be operating the station 24 hours a day, I presume?
We're going to be on all bands, to a great degree. 160, of course, is nighttime band, so is 80. But the other bands, depending on propagation, could see 24-hour operation. Certainly 20 meters will be. 10, 12, I would expect those bands to be open, depending on conditions, propagation, a good portion of the day to some part of the world.
If you are looking to make a contact, the old adage of listen, listen, listen is helpful?
Absolutely. If you give your call back and respond when the DX stations work somebody else, it's not going to help you too much.
There are stations that call and call and call. What can you, as a person in the dog pile, do to help yourself get through that? I'm not sure if you'd want to call it molasses, but sometimes it might feel like that.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, having 2 receivers or being able to listen to where you're transmitting as a station trying to work the DX is pretty helpful. So ideally what you want to do is understand where the DX station is moving. Are they moving up through the pileup? Are they moving down? Where did they last work a station? Where does it make sense to position yourself? That's what to do. So position yourself in the clear so you can work them. Now, one of the consequences of Skimmer and a variety of the other tools that people use now is, for example, everybody uses DX Summit. We'll look at where the DX station last transmitted. Somebody reports it, and immediately 400 million people jump onto that frequency and start transmitting exactly 0 beat. All you hear is a lot of noise at the DX station side. So spread out a little bit. Find a little bit of room. Figure out what the pattern is of the DX station, where they're going up, where they're going down. Position yourself ideally in the clear, which will be pretty tough in the first few days of the operation, maybe the first week. Amsterdam's pretty high on the wanted list. But it's listen, 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 understand how the pileups moving, and then position yourself so you have a better opportunity to be heard.
I think that covers it. Neil King, VA7DX. I'm Mono, Victor Kilo 6, Foxtrot Lima Alpha Bravo.